we sit here again. We have a new guest, Anne Marel from Groningen. Yesterday we also had two guests from Groningen who really lively explained to us the status quo of your process towards your workshop. Could you add something to that? He told us something about his ideas on energy in this region, on the city of Groningen and also beyond, so the rural landscape that surrounds the city. Could you add something to that? Why you are here, or what drives you in particular to be part of this workshop, or what specific ideas you have on the content of the workshop?
Well, the thing is, for the municipality of Groningen, one of the main focuses is energy and healthy aging. And the municipality really invests in energy, and like on Zernike, for example, we have entrance, and on entrance we experiment with all different kind of energy adding things. Well, as Chris also told, I guess, Groningen wants to use energy as an as a tool to solve problems, or with the workshop we really want to put up the discussion and get some more information from the different international people as well. Because we have the earthquakes and all this stuff, that we can pick different scenarios of the future, and then we can see how we can use energy as a tool to solve this kind of problems.
Okay. And Zernike, you mentioned this is the education place in the city of Groningen. Yeah. Could you explain a little bit what you are doing over there? More specifically, as a project, certain projects, or?
Oh, really specific, I don't really know. Maybe Hiltje from the municipality as well. Do you know any examples?
No, not exactly. But the Energy Academy is based there, so they're doing all kinds of experiments and things, and projects are undertaken from there. So.
Yeah, really experimenting with the solar panels, or just the new stuff, pretty much. And another example is the Rijk Diepwijk. They're trying to define what is sustainability, and how can it is energy, but also it's more broad. So, but energy could be a tool to solve these kind of other problems as well. So they want to be the most sustainable neighborhood of Groningen, and even in the Netherlands, and whatsoever. They have big ambitions. That's an example of how Groningen is really really interested or so in this topic.
And this neighborhood, could this be part of the workshop as a study area?
Yeah, that will be possible. Yeah, we still need to define the different scenarios and define the different cases. That will be a perfect case. Yeah, of course.
Nice. And Annelies, I saw you were in discussion with Judith. I was curious, and I saw your book. You have all kinds of writings. Where were you talking about? What was what you were talking about? Tell me.
Well, we talked about a lot of things, I think. Yes. But we started off with talking about communication. Actually, I think that was the starting point. Intercultural communication. So, for example, I'm very interested in migration and integration issues. And we talked about how in a city with a very cultural diverse population, how we can communicate with each other, and also what issues come up during this communication. So why is it difficult to communicate with different cultures, within different cultures?
Yes, and also to say it's a generational thing as well, because there is a lot of coming and going, and of course we are getting one world because we have so much migration, so much mobility. And we discussed the fact that when the parents who immigrate, they have a certain attitude, but they have still the link to their country of origin. That the new generation born in the immigrant country are the ones, and I mentioned to her some French research which has been extremely interesting in my view, on these people who they call from North Africa les beurs, which are in between. They don't belong neither there nor there, and they are the really difficult generation who has very great difficulties to adapt. Whilst if they stay and they have children, then it is much easier. So it's this kind of process of assimilation, integration, of searching identity, which we looked at, I think.
Yeah, and I think that is an issue that is common for many cities in especially Western Europe now. Which is coming up because most migrants have children nowadays, and sometimes it's very difficult for those youngsters to grow up in the cities and to really participate, to really have a chance to and equal chances to participate.
And from the Isocarp point of view, it would be very interesting to look at what's happening in other continents, because there is a lot of migration there as well. I mean, look at what's happening in the sea, now with the refugees in Malaysia and in Indonesia and so on. What happens there, I don't know, but it would be interesting to see what happens to those kind of adaptation generations and attitudes of the indigenous people as well as the ones who are coming. Because that, for me, is a real planning issue.
As such, I think many planning issues have come to the table today. We also heard the great story of Doreen and the story of Rosa, in which they explained natural systems, so to say, that are that yet have to be integrated in the city. Fungus and human waste circles, that those are also issues that have yet to be integrated in the planning profession, which is our assignment, I would say, as young planners. Let me see. Joanna, what have you learned during these 2 days that you are definitely going to continue on towards October? Something or...
There's something, because I'm inspired by this and how we learned from nature and how we rethink what we can do about the agriculture. It's a process. And there's still something missing. How can we put this in the legal planning framework? Mm-hmm. And I think it's all our task. And especially... until now, there's still something. It's very important, but we need to elaborate more in the rural and the city, because, of course, it's quite different context. Mm-hmm. But look at us. We are actually in the city, but a little bit rural environment. So if we can do something, we can, of course, it's like yesterday mentioned how we deal with the issue in the city and the rural area. Because it's very different, but we have to be aware of both. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's two different approach. It probably need to, there's some framework we can learn from each other's, and we reach the same goal. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's also what we talked about this morning, to integrate and also to learn from the rural area, because now we really center the city as a main point in a country, but the rural area around the city is also crucial, maybe even in the future even more important, I would say, that the rural landscape around the city should be connected and integrated more, so these two systems can really become one, and also become this one big city. If we talk about the Netherlands, somewhere the food has to grow and somewhere the energy has to come from.
if we understand and come up with new solutions for this integration, that would be a great step towards the future, I think. So, who else wants to add to this an idea, throw up an idea that we learned during these 2 days?
I could add that what I've heard, that there's a big talk about the reuse of materials, about also the campus where we're sitting also here right now, and what I would also focus my further work also for the end result of Isocarp Congress is how actually to combine different kind of reuses into a system. And there are already such concepts as a circular economy, as cradle to cradle concepts, and however these concepts are still much more on the theoretical table than implemented in the practical way. So I think there is a huge gap which needs to be filled, and I would see as Isocarp's mission how we can strengthen the link.
Okay. Oh, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think nowadays we are talking about livability, so like how to improve the quality of life, and then from the planning perspective or even policy, then usually we use a top-down approach, so we need like infrastructures and then land use planning, and then actually this kind of livability, you can feel it on the local scale, like this place, quite inspirational. Then you can just notice like people are actually inventing their own micro business or micro activities to show their lifestyle. So very creative. So I think this can also be embedded in our thought that these different scales and different values can match together.
And I think non-professionals sometimes they react faster than professional, which is us. And I think one of our role is try to connect, because we are professionals in our professionals, but we speak this language we know only. And if we can manage to translate this very rigid, very scientific language into a common language, then I think it's already a lot.
And I think this is to add up to your discussion, as you said, from top-down perspective to translate the language of the profession into the normal citizens, but also the other way around, because it should be a reverse process as well. We should be somewhere in between this two-way street, so also to take the end users into consideration and take their needs and put them back in the top system where they can be really placed into the mainstream practice. I think because this is how efficiency should work. And also we have cities as living organisms, and we have different social and economic scenarios at a specific given time. And those are the ones that come from the live platform in the city, and they should be monitored and they should be used to produce opportunities for new ways of thinking in urban planning.
So it means we have to also translate this language to the politicians.
Exactly.
And it's also good that you do this as young planners, because if you are in an organization for about 10 months, you think in this structure, and you now think in this creative way, which is very useful for the older generation.
There's also this social, this empowerment of people in the city, and all the things we discussed. We need to translate it to, for me as well, at least, into a kind of a spatial thinking. Because, I'm educated like as a spatial designer. I think in spaces, in how the city looks like, and so all these aspects, also this food aspect, transforming society into food-oriented. How do we produce food, and how is this food produced sustainably? This has also a spatial task, and we need to translate that, I think, for ourselves in our profession, to make it something that fits urban designers also, to be stick close to our profession.
Something can be visualized, can use the spatial form as a tool to communicate.
Yeah.
So it's really like the urban planner should continuously interact with the society, and it's all its forms, not only within their own close society. So you also have to feel the people that are outside from your profession, and to continuously learn in this change, because then it's how you also adapt to change what you do with your work. So it's about constantly learning the new ways of how society functions in the new era.
Yeah, maybe that means that our focus should not be in cities, but maybe in city regions. Because now there is nothing like a city. It's all just growing and fusing into each other. And yeah, if you focus on cities, you forget about the edges, you forget about the total system, and then, yeah. And sometimes the users are not only the ones in the city, the ones who are outside, who are not considered in the whole framework.
I would like to add that probably I also don't think we should expect another manifesto. I think throughout history there are too many failed manifestos. So maybe we should rather focus on strategies, on specific issues and specific conditions, rather than recreating a revolutionary model how to reinvent everything. Because we have to deal with the existing environment. So.
It's also reuse of thoughts.
Yeah, I think we're all...
No manifesto, because it's the system, as you call it, of the city, the whole area is just too complex. I heard an architect saying a couple of months ago, the system we're living in is so complex, we can't reveal it, we can't understand it anymore, so we can't have a manifesto which takes all the aspects of the city, so we have to that just turn some knobs around, and you can't change everything. Is that why you think so?
And I think also because the systems are as complex as they are, because it's all run by individuals with individual qualities, with identities, minorities, groups of people, and also in the urban profession, I think people are very different from each other, have different qualities, have a different view on spatial design, spatial planning, organizing, legislation, that kind of things. It's all part of this profession, and I think you're hampering yourself when you're focused on one issue. Or
I think, I like this debate, and I very much like the proposal that you don't want to go for one-size-fits-all manifesto reductionist. But I'm not quite sure about your explanation, because it seems to me cities haven't suddenly become complex. I think they have been around for a long time. Yeah. It is us, how we want to perceive them differently, and maybe you are really the ones who can then change the mindset from within, because you feel the need for it. And I think that is very, very positive for me. And I think if you can put this message to Isocarp as a whole body, a professional body which wants to precisely serve and the needs of everyone in all continents, I think it would be good for them to hear this, that you agree with that there are diversities and they are actually a good thing, and you want to cater per issue or per place or whatever, that you're very context conscious and so on, so that it's much more subtle and we cannot dominate the whole lot in one go. And I think I very much welcome that, I must say.
Yeah, for me it's interesting. I feel less and less like I have something to say about urban planning while here, because I feel like I'm the graphic designer in between urban planners, though I studied architecture, but I do feel like a general need for new tools for visualizing and for catalyzing dialogue between different skills, and that's where I might find my place in this whole discussion. When I applied to the call, I proposed to talk from the concept of the micropolis and not from the megalopolis, and start from these small networks and connect them to bigger networks, and think not in this huge scale of the city only, but try to work at different scales at the same time. And that's where we need those tools for dialogue and visualizing the complexity, because I do think it's quite complex and many things and topics happening at the same time. So it's kind of confirmation of what I was thinking about, that there is this need or like uncertainty of how to connect these different skills and how to visualize, how to find this language that can connect those skills. So that's, for me, this is great to hear that you have these doubts and these uncertainties, because then I know where to work on, I guess. So.
I think the Rijdiep case really shows that this kind of discussion, I mean, that this way of working works, because like we had this neighborhood meeting, and then like the people were the ones who were defining sustainability, and we are now busy with getting a game, like a serious gaming thing in the same neighborhood, and we try to to visualize what pulls the city down and what pulls it up in sustainable in sustainability means. So, and that's the language of the neighborhood, and then we need to see how to get it on a higher level, or to give them the tools, like with the smart meters, and that they can see what happens with their energy use. And yeah, I think that will work.
So one of the general tasks then would be to find your own language, how you can be a translator, I would say. So, yeah.
And I think it's we can agree it will be a visual language. I think to at least to some extent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the visual tools are strong to connect to different people, I think, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A language in which you can communicate, through which you can communicate on a low, toegankelijk, what's that? In an accessible way. That people feel part of the story, and also to create this story, I would say, through these visuals, that people feel part of this story, and that they can maybe add to the story also through visuals, or through their ideas that we can make visual.
It's also interesting maybe to use the experience that you have from the other countries, for example India, or not only from the profession then, but also from this knowledge that we have in other countries as well.
Yeah, and from being a citizen.
Yes.
I think that's what we forget a bit during this talk, that we're all professionals, but we're also citizens. Mm-hmm. So we also live the cities we're talking about. So.
Yeah, we are also struggling in our own daily lives. How can we be more sustainable? How can we indeed make use of our own PM pool? Is there a way? Can it be done? Can I do it now or tomorrow or not? And why not? And this is also a challenge maybe for October, to become aware of this personal skill, how you yourself live your daily life. And could you integrate the things that we are discussing now in our daily lives? Could we maybe grow fungi all in October as an experiment to see how that works, or is it difficult or not? just as an experiment to see if it's difficult, what we need. Do we need others in this process or not? Just as an experiment to switch our mindset into maybe more practice-based knowledge and to also go beyond only talking and to do something. So.
Also, another point that yesterday was mentioned was very interesting is how to find a tool to empower the citizens to be involved and really care to make contributions, because we've heard cases where cities struggle to encourage people to contribute to their ideas of what is needed in a specific neighborhood. So, because we already talked about it in the first prelude, that there are citizens that are sort of active ones and that want to help in this process, but there are others that just don't care, but they of course have a lot to say, because everybody has their own opinion what is needed in their own neighborhood. So how to motivate these people, or not even motivate, but how to capture their ideas, knowledge, and really translate it into the practice so we can make cities better. That is also very important, because those are very valuable resources to us as planners.
This is also a thing I think we should collect also for in the action book or in the final lessons learned, so to say, how we did this during the workshops. What tools did we use? We use a game, we use visuals, maybe we can use some other tools that we can collect into a sort of toolbox so we can learn from each other how we can make this connection towards the citizen. So it's a sort of language in between that is not made out of only words but also practice-based tools, and which are yet to develop by us.
I have a little dissenting voice here, because I mean, I've worked from the bottom up very much. I very much agree with you to say we are also citizens, we are also part of that, it's not them and us. I mean, absolutely, and incorporate our own personal experience. I think that is really valuable. But from there to say they all should participate because they are a resource we can use, this is very interesting. Because in my experience, we always said, well, let's try to reach the 10%, which we can never reach. We really tried everything, and we lived there for 4 years, going to the pub and I don't know what. And in the end, we have to accept they don't want to be there. They do not want, they're quite happy for us to do stuff. They take it on or not, but they do not want to participate. They don't want to be active. Like if people don't want to vote, I think it's sad, but it is their right. And I think we should not prejudice that. I think we should also accept that some of them, they might be beneficiaries, passive ones, why not, Or they may react once stuff goes in the wrong direction. But I think we can't assume that everyone, it's a good thing that everyone is actively participating involved. They have other things to do. They want to play with their kids or go swimming or I don't know what.
That was not my idea. My idea was it's okay that they are not active, but how to capture what they like or what they need. They don't have to be active, but it's good if you can capture, for example, if somebody likes to use the playground a lot, then you can really see that they like this. So that this neighborhood needs playground. Then you can translate this into the mainstream practice. So this was the idea,
That is very linear thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because people say, I want this, and the next day you meet again and they say something completely different. They're convinced that this is what they had been saying before. We have done a lot of intercultural research that way. And I had actually, we had video, we had evidence, because they were absolutely, no, I have never said that, never. I said, look at you 6 months ago, that was you.
I think it's all that.
So we shift our grounds as well. We are not, I think it's very important to know also that we are ambiguous, we are full of contradictions, all of us, and so maybe at some stage, yes, that's what we like.
But it's also okay to change your mind, because society changes. Absolutely. Yes, so that's what I'm saying, it should be about changing, because society is changing constantly, and we have to adapt this fixed structure and infrastructure that we have in the city into changing. So it's it's okay to change things, but to do it in a prompt way, in a fast way, so you can always be there for them.
That's right, but we had a big discussion when I visited the Brussels workshop people. and they had a big symposium and thinking into reversibility, so that was the big thing. So everything's so flexible and you can reverse. And I said, well, actually, but once you have built the road, it's rather harder to reverse that one than to have a decision about how you should meet the meeting room. I mean, this sort of stuff. So there again, I think it's up to us to identify the degree to which these things are reversible or not. And I think
it really depends on the project, because if you're talking about roads, this is a responsibility of the municipality, and if you're talking about other projects, you have all these levels like bottom up, in Dutch it's coöperatie, the two are at the same level, and you have the governmental project. So it really depends on which level you are talking on. So yeah, I agree if you have this...
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about once it is being implemented, bulldozers, you build the stuff.
Yeah.
This is different than to have it on a plan.
But for example, I have another example that is saying totally the opposite. There is a project in New York that they reused old rail track, and they turned it into a park.
Yes, I know that.
So that is something that is possible. So even though it's there and people don't use power to demolish it, they still try to find other ways to reuse it. So now the inhabitants have this lovely park they can go and sit in and enjoy it. So it's about the mindset of the people that do this. But they should shift and be more open to change.
If we're talking about the High Line, that's quite a controversial example, because it was implemented on a neighborhood and many people cannot live in the neighborhood anymore because it became so expensive for them to live there, because many developers came there to develop huge buildings and the whole thing got bombed by new buildings, and the original inhabitants are not enjoying the High Line at all. So that's a big controversial issue in this neighborhood.
To show the power of reuse. Right?
Yeah, it looks amazing, and it's a beautiful, like aesthetically, and I know that I'm for sure it attracts tourists, and there's many things in pro to say about the High Line, but there's also many things to say not in pro of this specific project. I love to be there, but I feel the friction being there.
But isn't that also the dynamics of cities, of urban areas, which we have to deal with? Because, you do things and you can't really predict what's going to happen. Sometimes you start something which you strongly believe it's very good, but then it ends in complete failure. But also you can do something, start something very small, and it grows and blossoms, and is great. So it's maybe something that the dynamics in urban areas is something we need to deal with as well. So you can't plan anything.
No, of course not. I totally agree, but it's also about finding the balance between implementing huge projects that, I think the High Line was quite done with the idea of developing this area. How big will you go to guarantee a better quality of a neighborhood for the original inhabitants, and how, finding this balance, it's really difficult.
I think it's just explain one thing. When there's a task, and we always think we want to resolve this problem, and after we achieve that goal, there's always new problems, because I think urban or cities, they are not just it's not like a physics task. It's like when we fix something and there's always new thing. It's alive, and I think we have to deal with this problem continuously. And the thing is, we all understand that we want to fix something and want to maintain this framework, but we don't want to achieve just one goal or 10 goals, because there's so many uncertainties. There's financial issues, and also we're dealing with people. They are not always rational. There's nothing wrong with
is nothing wrong to being irrational, because there's all kinds of reasons that as planners we can't for sure, because it's everyone's choice. But that's the thing we have to deal with. And I think it's really nice to know that Highlight, it seems very successful project, but afterwards we still have new challenges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point. Very good.
And the thing is, in Rotterdam, there's Skiweg, the elevated highway. Hoofdbogen, exactly. And they, for 10 years, I think, they want to rebuild this area. And they think, oh, Highlight is a good place. But now maybe the New Yorker can say, you have to think about it. If you manage to build another Highlight, and you have to dealing with this. But of course, we can learn just the tool or experiences. But of course, in Rotterdam, it's Rotterdam. They will never be in New York because they have their own spirits, I think. Yeah.
Good points. Very good points. Yes.
Yeah, I think also that 21st century for planning means the end probably of linear projects. It has to be always about the continuity and foreseeing the future. We cannot say that this project will be implemented in the first phase until here, on the second phase until there. It's always about the existing and changing conditions. And probably that's why we're here today, because of already changed conditions in the system of welfare state, and in the terms that we suffered, the world suffered from financial crisis, and there are new contexts to deal with. And if we want that our cities would be livable and successful, we have to change our mindsets towards that too.
I guess that's exactly why we wanted to do this from the city of Eindhoven, because we call it Society 2.0. What we see in Eindhoven is that we lost a lot of making industry, because the Philips industry went down, the DAF industry went down in the 90s, and we lost a lot of laborers, a lot of people, and we have to deal with this situation in the middle of the 90s. But we grew out of this in a completely new identity. And from the most ugliest city in Holland, officially declared in the middle of the 90s, we became the most beautiful city in the issue of design. And it was thanks to your generation that we got this new identity. I call it the seeds of Philips, the seeds of Brainport, because we have to deal with our industry, new industry. It's about what came out of this leftover situation. It's a new economic situation, because we developed a new industry, the thinking industry. It's not the making industry. It's about the clever people that stay to live there and develop their own new ideas, their own inventions on their own in their private companies. And some of those private companies, some of those seeds became very big industries, very big flowers, field of flowers, let's say. And that's what happened in our city, and we like to share it with you as one of those components of a new society. And that's why I guess the Design Academy, and some of you are studied on the Design Academy, they knew how to deal with these questions. And I guess it's important also to share it here, because you are the new generation, and not all of you will experience this or have experienced this or know about this. So that's why I like this platform of international exchange of ideas, especially for you, because you young planners are in the lead. I like to call it in the lead, because your thoughts, your experiences will create a new future. Not exactly create, but you have to deal with these changes. And if we share it here and we share it with people everywhere in the world, in your profession, they can learn from it too, and they themselves can decide what they will pick out of this, what they need and what they don't need. And that in small scale happened in our city with students from university, but also from Design Academy. And what I've learned from this, because I'm from another generation, but I was able to work with students in a sort of a city laboratory, it's called, since 2003, started by the mayor. I learned from it that young planners, young people can have very creative ideas. But sometimes it's under the sheet, let's say. You cannot develop it because it's not possible. And I think if we are able to create this positive atmosphere so that the seeds can grow, talking about food, then the seeds can grow like they do in Eindhoven. It's not that Eindhoven is the only city, but we like to share this knowledge. And that's the only thing. And during the Design Week, that's why we were able to organize this event during the Dutch Design Week to give you the possibility to have a smell of this atmosphere, if you want to go. You don't have to go, but we have this prelude, this first 2 days. They are in front of the event, 17th and 18th of October. Everybody can decide if they want to join, but we would like to offer from our city this this pre-event, let's say, this prelude, to smell the sound or the smell of the design, of the new identity of the city. But it's exactly about what you're talking about, the change that's going on. And that's why we created this Team 10 as a joke, more or less, to compare to Team 10 in the 30s, because it was about architecture, and now it's about urban design. Not about design anymore, but about urban development. And I think that would be nice if we can have this joke as a real experience for you, I guess. I hope so.
So in that case, the keywords will not be any more rigidity, but it will be adaptability and flexibility. So it's not like a holistic, encompassing master plan. It's really about implementing in parts and hoping that there will be something which happens later which will bind it all. But we will not decide what binds what.
No. And that's what we can learn from the Dutch Design Week, because
exactly.
it was not a holistic plan to make Eindhoven an artistic or a creative city, but it just happens.
Yeah, there were these acupunctures, and then
and you see it on the Dutch Design Week. They're all small designers, all small offices, creative companies, which are popping up everywhere.
True.
And there is no holistic plan for that. So and that makes the city livable. That makes it nice, vibrant. There's something happening which confuses us as well. So that's what we were talking about last Monday. As every week there's another event popping up somewhere in the city, and you don't know where to look, where to be. It's if you have your agenda, you can visit 3 events every weekend. So, but those small companies popping up everywhere, and they are analyzing what's happening in this world, and they're with trial and error. We heard already this afternoon. Trial and error is very important, because they're analyzing, experimenting, and after a couple of errors, then they find this new, they explore this new light bulb, and that's already a new seed. That's not the end of it. It's a new seed again. So it's evolution.
Yeah, it inspires a lot of people, because every year this number of people that visit the Design Week is growing. We talked about now about 250,000, and this year maybe it will be 300,000. So it's crazy how it can inspire not only professionals, but also normal people. And I guess that's the reason why it's so popular, because it's down to earth. It's not a rigid profession anymore, because urban planning is now about very different skills. We talked about it today already. That's why people are here from cartoons, who can design cartoons. We use this, and we like it a lot. Or graphic design, or social design, especially social design. The human aspect is very important nowadays. It's not about blueprint anymore, it's more about the people in the bricks, let's say. And that's the reason why we like to share this with you, and we are much into this topic.
Yeah, for me, I'm interested in why this Eindhoven story is successful, what's the mechanism or dynamics behind it, so the local context, the process of development. So that actually helps to transfer the knowledge to maybe a broader field. So I think the story behind it is more interesting.
Well, it is, of course, but we didn't want to start with the story here because, I think it's important to hear the story of the other cities. Maybe we can do this once, I don't know. because tomorrow I'll go to Russia again for the 24th time to tell the story, but it's more to inspire people, and it's so crazy to get this response from Russian people too. It's not about Russia, I mean, it's more about that you can see that it can inspire a lot of people. But you should visit if you are able to do this, and we can share the knowledge too, of course, and we can start from this today. But we also need the knowledge of other cities. That's why I think it's important to have these 12 cities and not only one who is organizing this event. We have different colors of Holland. We show different colors of not only Holland even, because Brussels and Antwerp and Dortmund also participate. So it's about this part of Europe that will show the actual state.
And also the contributions from the international crowd through their abstracts and other projects that they have submitted to the Congress. So that is also another way of contributing knowledge and sharing knowledge. So we have a lot of international contributions.
Within our Team 10 we feel the vibes almost daily. And it's crazy that we were able to do all this, to organize this, together with a lot of people of course, but it is this Team 10, that's 5 of them are here. They did a lot of work, but only because of these vibes, this inspiration that we got from our situation. I would like to share it with you, and I hope that you will take it and use it as a sort of human energy. We like to call it human energy, or maybe human synergy. That's even better.
I think that's what binds us all. This energy that we feel from within, and that each of us drives forward in our daily lives, which is only yet to explore what is it exactly, and what points do we connect to, and that's also, I think, in October will be this moment of flourishment, but hopefully after this can go beyond October as a sort of kickstart for this new way of thinking and this human energy that can flourish, and maybe we can actively stay involved with each other, that we keep up to date how we can fill in this conference. So I would like to invite you all to find your own way how you can contribute in an active way or less active. It's up to you, but do it from this human energy, then it will be fine, I guess.
I think this is a very, very important point, because we haven't been terribly good in the past in our congresses, like many of these conferences. We do it, and everything is hockey-dory and a few awards distributed, and that's the end. And I think the local organizing committee has been very keen to change that, and also really that was the sort of the start. This is what the young generation can really contribute and mobilize and so on, because you can continue, and that's why the networking session at the main congress is extremely important, and also to see you can start now, because then you can make these contributions and say, well, you can group for project cooperation, I don't know what, and so on, which we have really not done, although I think Isocarp is a really good platform, to use your words, to do just that. Across the world, really, and I think that would be an important thing to do, so that we can also take it on board, both on the Congress feedback book and also in your action programming. That is extremely important. And you can then say, Isocarp, we have a thing which we call Institute something, has changed its name a bit. I mean, basically it was about education and training, which we thought we could make a contribution. We are not academics, we are not university, but training, for example, talk to mayors about planning and stuff like that. We have done a bit over the 49 years, but not enough. And it sort of was on the sideline a lot. And I think that is something which you could think about, pick up and see, does it interest you? Do you want to participate? How can you use this vehicle, which is pretty empty at the moment? So it's a space where you can actually step in my view, And because it's open, it's not rigid yet. It is not, but it's something which Isocarp always sort of wanted to do. Never very much got around to do it. We had a few mayor summits and things like that, but only about 3 or 4, very few. And that's why we have one this time, which is also very important, in conjunction with the reporting back on the workshop. So that should be that's a way of saying how can you contribute this kind of cooperation. So that's one of the possibilities.
That's also, I think, the reason behind why we are here today and yesterday, to fuel this discussion and to actually start this engine working, give it content and find each other, get to know each other. And in Eindhoven we are taking this further also on an informal way, so we can broaden the network in Eindhoven between those who want to be active or not. And I happily invite you all to join, but also I invite you to do it in your own cities, to make this informal networks towards October, which we can use Isocarp for as a platform.
In your work with the co-rapporteurs, that is something I think you can take on board, and because they might be interested as well, because we are very isolated in many ways. And also, let's face it, some of us are busy, we're working 80 hours, 7/24 and so on. So it's good to be prompted and say, no, actually, these priorities should be slightly different. Also for the future of our profession, I think. And that could be very, very creative, I think.
Also, you as young planners should use the modern technology tools of communicating with others that are not in the city you're assigned to. So, like creating a Facebook page of the specific workshop you will be assigned to, and a LinkedIn page would be perfect. And keeping it alive would be even much better, because you have to constantly feed it with information and ask questions, provoke people to react. So that is very important as well. And it's how you create your own community of gathering new knowledge from external people as well.
There's one practical question related to that, which, from my experience, you gather, you are a team, you're a network, you have few people, have a lot in common, and you have all these projects you want to do, etc., and it sort of whistles out, because people are moving out about and go elsewhere and so on. So it's very important to see how can you make sure that there is continuity, there is new blood all the time, so you have this kind of loose but open end, so that if some leaves, there is always a critical mass still there, which can carry the project on, and of course change it and drop it and so on. But because many of these things have just sort of whizzed away, and it's a great pity, actually.
It's also important to capture this knowledge that you get from these local networks.
Have some trace as well, I think, because you have some kind of archive. It can be, in any way, but I think, and that can then be, with your technology, can be really disseminated much more. Like this, that we have the others already on board. That's very, very important, and it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, we already have some experience with the Isocarp Eindhoven workshop, so we can share with you, if you like, our experience in how we capture this knowledge. And I think Wagner has also a Facebook, LinkedIn group that they're also active with. So.
But you also have Mark here. Mark is sending, is broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that we are able to do this. We did it already since 2005. We know each other since 2005, but it's more that you can use this tool to communicate all over the world. And now we do it in English, and that's good because we can use it. It's there. And we also tried Skype yesterday, but that was not, but that was not so, we are not so familiar with that yet, but we can use this technology too for the future. So it's more to improve our communication too, that's very important. But maybe, I think we can end up this meeting. Maybe Judith, you are the general rapporteur, maybe
you
can
have your closing words.
Maybe you can.
At the moment,
it's short.
I'll keep it very short, because first of all, thanks for inviting me. It was absolutely great to be here. I learned a lot. I made friends, I hope. I really enjoy working with you. I think it's fantastic. I'm very pleased. And I hope the sooner the better that you get in touch with my team, the co-rapporteurs in each city and so forth, and also with me anytime if you want and so on. I'm open, and if there is any issues, any questions, but I also don't want to lead from the top at all. I'm very much a networker, and henceforth I think it should be, mobilized, and the enthusiasm, the energy will come from you and from them. They're very enthusiastic, they're very keen to work with you, and vice versa, I hope. and then that we get some. I'm very keen about your action book as well, and I'm very pleased that you don't want to do a manifesto. I think it's a really great idea. But what's the alternative? That's much harder. So it's up to you to be super creative about that one, and also to link it up with the kind of book I will have to do for the Congress. One of the reasons why they want to have something rather quickly and sort of tangible, old-fashioned, that you can take it and offer it to the mayor and the minister and all these kind of people, is because the Isocarp are really keen not to stop there. And they have two events in mind. One is that when the Netherlands has got the EU presidency in 2016, and it's focused on cities and this work from De Zweger and stuff like that. So they want to show we have done that.
Yes.
So you are all there because we will have all the names. There will be, it will be. This is our team. This is what we have done. The second one is an input towards the UN Habitat 3 conference, which is more bureaucratic and difficult. And I have talked to Ismael Meja Fernandez, who was one of our presidents, who is sort of running one of the modules of this thing, and he explained to me a little bit how we can contribute. So I will try to find out a little more, because that would be also very important that we get some exposure as we, a professional network, and this is the way we can contribute to improving the built environment. I mean, this is what they want to do in Quito, Ecuador.
Thank you.